All right, Shalom, brothers, fellow subscribers on the Swell Cut Sharp YouTube channel. Welcome to another episode, okay, of Swell Cut Sharp YouTube channel. As you know, I'm Priest Brother Tawar Brakar, and as you know, reading for me in the background,
Priest Mashak.
Khan. So, a brother, a fellow subscriber, requested that we do a video on Revelation chapter 12, verses 4 through 13. It was an email that I received about a few days ago, okay, in which the brother requested that he wanted the understanding of this, the breakdown. But the verses were too long for me to break it down just to typewritten or typewriter or do just messaging, email, and back and forth. All right. When brothers request breakdown of scripture that's more than 3 verses, brothers gonna have to wait for the video. Okay. If it's more than 3 or 5 verses and it's something that I gotta go into because it's deep parabolic form, you brothers are gonna have to wait for the video. All right. So hopefully, brothers enjoyed that video that we did last week on the Luke 16th chapter, Hell Doctrine Cut. Okay, so we're going to get right into this because this is going to be long. This is going to be a long breakdown. The Spirit of Most High was working with me and the brother Marshall to bring this information out. All right, so we're going to jump right into it. Okay, let's get the book of Revelation. Okay, let's read chapter 12, verse 4.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
Right, so just in case brothers want the understanding of Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 through 3, email me, okay, and I'll be able to give that understanding unto Most High will. You understand? But the brother requested verse 4. So that's what I'm going to start with. So you got any questions concerning verses 1 through 3, email me on it. And I'll go over with you in private or through email, okay, or through the internet message, all right? So read again one more time, chapter 12, verse 4.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and it cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Right, so the tail, when we read verse 4, it says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. Okay, so this is the understanding of the red dragon. The red dragon represents the Edomite nation. Okay, and we won't further prove that later on in the show, Lord's willing. All right. And in this particular verse, this red dragon with the tail is dealing with the leaders, okay, of Edom, okay, the Greco-Roman Empire, the Greeks and the Romans, okay, which was during the time that John was seeing his vision. Okay, the policies and lies and philosophies that the leaders, okay, indoctrinated our people with drew a lot of our people into their nonsense and their philosophies. All right, the tail represents their leaders, okay, of the Greeks, the Romans, and the Edomites in general. All right, hold that. Give me Isaiah chapter 9, verse 15. Let's prove it that the tail represents the leaders. Okay, when it says the tail drew the third part, okay, the tail represents the leaders, the leaders amongst Edom at the time of the Greco-Roman Empire that caused our people to go astray under their doctrines. Let's further prove that the tail represents the leaders. Let's read Isaiah chapter 9, verse 15.
The ancient and honorable, he is the head.
The Lord said that the ancient and honorable, he is the head. Read.
And the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail.
Right, and this is talking about the nation of Israel concerning our nation, the false prophets amongst our nations and the churches. But the Lord said that they are the tail, okay, the false prophets. And the reason why the Lord is describing them as a tail, like also in Revelations, because the same way the false prophets are doing what we're about to read now, that's exactly what the leaders and the philosophers of the Greeks and the Romans did to our people, which was indoctrinate them contrary to the word of the Lord and having them become Gentiles in the spirit. Read on.
All right. For the leaders of this people cause them to err.
Right. So the tail, which represents the leaders, they cause, okay, our people to err, even amongst our nation, but also amongst the Edomite nation and the Greeks and the Romans. They cause our people to err away from the scriptures, okay, when they conquered the world and became a power. Read on.
And they that are led of them are destroyed.
Right. They were destroyed for lack of knowledge, and they were destroyed also for the simple fact that they stopped keeping the commandments of the Most High. All right. And the leaders and the philosophers and the policies of Rome called for, and the Greeks called for our people to go contrary to the word of the Lord concerning stop circumcising your children, else you'll be put to death. A lot of our people, they went after the ways of the Gentiles and became wicked men and became Gentiles themselves, all because of Edom and the Greco-Roman, which is the red dragon. Read on.
Therefore the Lord shall have no joy in a young man.
Right, the Lord didn't have no joy in our young men because our young men became corrupt by these leaders and these false prophets. Read.
Neither shall have mercy on their fatherless and widows.
Right, the Lord said he will not have mercy on our fatherless and widows. Read on.
For everyone is an hypocrite and an evildoer.
Right, because that's the same way that our false prophets amongst our nation cause our people to be wicked and evil. And when the truth comes out, they still wish to follow after the ways of the false prophets. So therefore, the Lord is going to judge them, all right, despite the low estate that they're in. That's the same spirit that happened in Revelation, the 12th chapter, when the tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, which represents, okay, the southern kingdom, which I'm going to break it down later on, okay, as we get into that verse. But the tail represents the leaders of Esau and their corrupt policies that they indoctrinated our people with, okay, known as the Greco-Roman period, okay. Although the Greco-Romans were basically Japheth, but the leaders and the heads of the Greco-Roman Empire, starting with Alexander and the Macedonians, were Edomites. And that's another show that Brother Mashar and I will do concerning Esau in Europe, showing you that Edom mingled and intermixed with Japheth and became the leaders and the heads of a lot of these Japhetic countries, all right, especially the Greeks. Because remember, like the video I did, who was Japheth for Coons and Coonalites last year, okay, Japheth, okay, that land of Greece was known as Javan. That was what it was known as, okay. But when Alexander and the Macedonians began to take over that land, it started the Hellenism period, and it became known as Greece, which is also known for the Hellenic Republic. Okay, that's when Edom took over, when it mainly became known as Greece, okay, during the time of Alexander the Macedonian, starting with his father, Philip II, all right, who was an Edomite, Macedonian, okay, which we're going to bring out all the information to further prove that in later shows. Read on.
And every mouth speaketh folly.
And that's exactly what happened with our people. They became indoctrinated with Greco-Roman philosophies, the same way they were being indoctrinated by the false prophets here in Isaiah the 9th chapter. Read.
For all this is the anger. For all this is anger is not turned away.
Right, that's why he sent his son Christ to die on the cross, okay? Because he loved our nation so much. Read.
But his hand is stretched out still.
And that was evidence with Christ, and it's evidence with our people in these last days, the servants of prophets being risen up from amongst our people to show our people a better way of life. But they've been indoctrinated by that tail of the dragon, okay, so damn much that a lot of them, they're just going to have to be destroyed. They're not going to turn back. They're not going to come back. Read on.
For wickedness buried as the fire.
Right, which is what's going to happen to our people that continue to go into the philosophies of the red dragon. Okay, they're going to be burnt with the fire. Read.
It shall devour the briars and thorns.
Read.
And shall kindle all the thickets of the forest.
Read on.
And it shall mine up like the lifting up of smoke.
Read.
Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened.
Right, through the land of through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened. Okay, when Christ make the second coming. Read.
And the people shall be as the fuel of the fire.
Read.
No man shall spare his brother.
Read on.
And he shall snatch on the right hand.
Read.
And be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm.
Right, and that's what happened during 70 AD. Okay, when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem, that's what happened. Okay, because our people was caught up into Greco-Roman philosophies and doctrines that caused the Most High to bring the Romans down to judge them. All right, in 70 AD, okay, our people were starving, eating each other. Read.
Manasseh, Ephraim, Manasseh.
Right, that's it on that. So go back to Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. Okay. Although, like I said, in Isaiah the 9th chapter, that's talking about the leaders amongst our nation that caused us to go astray. But the same spirit of the tail was in the Greco-Roman leaders that indoctrinated us during the time that Edom was at the height of the empire, mixed in with Japheth in Rome, which is what Revelation the 12th chapter is going into here in verse 4. So read it again.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
Right, so hold that. Give me 2nd Ezra chapter 11, verse 41. Okay, to further prove that this is talking about the Greeks and the Romans. Okay, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 11, verse 41.
All right. For the earth has thou not judged with truth.
Right, the earth has not judged with truth, which is what happened when the Roman Empire controlled the earth. And in these last days, when the modern day Roman Empire, America, okay, through the spirit of Esau, Edom, and Satan, they're controlling the earth, and they're not judged the earth in truth. Truth is according to the words of God. Okay, a homosexual is supposed to be put to death, okay, if they don't repent. But Esau actually will put crimes on you for putting a homosexual to death because he himself is a homosexual. All right, read on.
For that has afflicted the meek.
Right, and that's exactly what the Romans did. Okay, they afflicted the meek. When you read 2nd Ezra 11 chapter, this is going into the parable of the Roman Empire known as the eagle. All right, which was a most popular symbol of the Roman Empire was an eagle. And even on Showtime, believe that Esau's coming out with a show called The Eagle, just like he did in the movies about 6 months ago. The eagle stood resemblant of the Roman Empire. And the Greeks also, if I'm not mistaken, had the symbol of the eagle as well. And when you read the book of Obadiah, the Lord said that Edom would exalt himself as the eagle. So the eagle represents Edom, okay, because when you get to understand it, it was Sulla, okay, that turned the Roman Empire emblem into an eagle. Okay, that was an Edomite that transferred over the Roman symbol to be an eagle, because when Japheth had control of the Roman Empire, okay, they did not have the symbol as an eagle. Okay, but when Edom became more prevalent with the Roman Empire, they're the ones that allowed the Roman Empire to adopt the symbol as an eagle to fulfill prophecy about how Edom would be exalted. Read on.
Or that has afflicted the meek.
Read.
That has hurt the peaceable.
The Lord said they have hurt the peaceable. Read.
That has loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit.
Read.
And has cast down the walls of such as did deed no harm.
Right, we didn't attack the Roman Empire, they attacked us, okay, as well as other nations in that surrounding region. Read on.
Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest.
Right, and America is responsible for this as well. Okay, as soon as they leave Iraq, 72 people dead. Okay, that's the CIA all behind that. Wherever this man goes, he leaves a path of destruction and death, man. Okay, that followeth after. Like the scripture says in Daniel's 8th chapter, which we're going to get, I believe in later on the show, Lord's willing, through his policy of peace, he will destroy many. Okay, that's also going into Edom as well, when they were back then known as the Greeks. Read on.
And thy pride unto the mighty.
Read.
The highest also had looked upon the proud time.
Read.
And behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled.
Right. So there was prophecy concerning what would happen with Edom, okay, and the red dragon with the Greco-Roman Empire at this time. Read.
And therefore appear no more, thou eagle.
Thou eagle, which is referring to the Roman Empire and America. The symbol of America also is the eagle. All right. That's why this is modern day Rome. Read.
With thy horrible wings.
Right. The horrible wings. Okay, which represents their governors, their Caesars. Read.
Nor thy wicked feathers.
Read.
Nor that malicious head.
Which represents their whole body in government and all their leaders and governors. Read.
Nor that hurtful claws.
Right, which is their military. Okay. Read.
Nor all thy vain body.
Read.
That all the earth may be refreshed.
See that? The earth is going to be refreshed once Edom and Esau is destroyed and taken out of power. Read.
And may return, being delivered from thy violence.
Right, because all this violence that's going upon this earth is the so-called white man through the CIA. He's responsible for that. Just like it was back then during the time of the Roman Empire. There wasn't that much violence on the earth until the white man came over in the Greco-Roman Empire. And like it tells you in the book of Maccabees, when the Greeks came into power, evils multiplied on the earth. Okay, because that's what the so-called white race is about. Evils. Okay, things contrary to the words of God. Read.
And that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her.
Right, so the earth is going to, they basically waiting for Christ to come back to take this man out of power, man. Go back to Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. So a lot of when the Greco-Roman Empire came into power, they took a lot of our people away into their philosophies and their doctrines and their nonsense. That's what it means when it said their tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. Now we're going to get into that, who those third part of the stars of heaven are. Read Revelation chapter 12, verse 4 again.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
Right, the stars of heaven represents the southern kingdom. Okay, the third part. Now, when you get to understanding, there's 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, correct? All right, so a third of that would be 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So there was 4 tribes that was left behind. Remember, the 10 tribes, okay, already left. Okay, the 10 tribes have already left. And they're known as the 10 tribes, which I'm going to break it down to in another show why they were known as 10 tribes. But the 10 tribes, or the northern kingdom rather, already had left mainly the land region. The bulk of them left. Now, you still had a remnant behind, but the bulk of them already left that land and it came over here to the Americas and the Caribbean islands. All right. And yes, we're teaching that to Hispanics and Native Americans or Israelites. Because of the fucking nigger woman, you got these men bugging off their mind trying to say that the Hispanics are not Israelites because the nigger woman is bald-headed and she's jealous of the Hispanic woman because men know that they would get treated better with the Hispanic woman than with the nigger woman anyways. All right, but that's another topic. And these men are bugged out off their mind because they're eating too much of her fish in between her legs. And now they got these doctrines being pushed that the Hispanics are not Israelites. And it all goes back to the nigger woman. Yes, it goes back to her. That's the corrupt mind state that these men have because they want to follow after her, hold the globe up for her, and sit down, kneel down before her while she sits there with her bald head with her legs crossed, with a skull scornish look on her face.
Or drowning in the water, man.
Right, niggas drowning in the water for her, trying to save her. Captain Save 'em hoes. Y'all men been on my